Ruy Lopez opening, Morphy defense, delayed exchange variation, 6, dxc67.d3 and d78.nbd2009.nc4 Balanced, neither player ever had an advantage. That game was pretty competitive. Both players had an amazing opening. Sharp games are frequently the result of starting with the king's pawn, since it dominates the center and frees up the bishop and queen on the light squares. A typical answer is e5, which builds a position in the middle, controls d4, and frees up the queen and bishop on the dark square. The move nf3 advances the knight toward the center, engages the e5 piece in combat, and sets up a castle. nc6 defends the pawn on e5, advances the knight toward the center, and scans the d4 square. The Ruy Lopez opening develops the bishop to immediately attack the knight on c6, the lone defender of the e5 pawn. a6 forces the bishop must choose between exchanging and withdrawing. ba4 safely retreats the bishop while keeping pressure on the knight. nf6 attacks the undefended e4 pawn and develops the knight at the same time. Castling gets the king out of the center and prepares to develop the rook to e1. b7 develops the dark squared bishop and prepares to castle. bxc6 captures the knight and forces doubled c-pawns for black. dxc6 captures the bishop, opens the d-file and controls the d5 square. d3 supports the e4 pawn and allows the dark squared bishop to develop. nd7 develops the knight toward the center and defends the e5 pawn. nbd2 develops the knight toward the center and supports the knight on f3 and the e4 pawn. Castling gets the king out of the center and activates the rook. nc4 attacks the e5 pawn and allows the dark squared bishop to develop. Balanced, neither player ever had an advantage. That game was pretty competitive. Both players had an amazing opening. f6 defends the e5 pawn and controls the g5 square. It is the last book move. Balanced, neither player ever had an advantage. That game was pretty competitive. Both players had an amazing opening.